Greetings for the day, friends. My name is Anand Bhatnagar, and welcome on this call. Right, so using technology, I'm trying to share some of my thoughts. Today, I'm going to talk about something extremely important. In fact, it is very critical. So, think of a question: why do so little people, and that number is a minuscule number, have so much in life, and why do so many people have so little in life? Yeah, and there are data that suggests that about 1% of the world has about 46% of the world's wealth. Yeah, so what differentiates achievers from average people? And I think so one of the most important element in my opinion is that they are purpose driven. Yeah, and they have a goal that they are chasing. They live a purpose filled life. They are chasing something. So I'm going to talk about it, right? And over the next few minutes, share some of my thoughts on a topic which is called goals. Right? It is all about goals. The rest is all commentary. So we need to have a very clearly articulated, compelling goal, right? And that is what drives us. So to help you understand this, let me draw a parallel. Think of a river. And my question is, what keeps a river flowing? Why does a river flow? Think about it. What you're thinking is right. Let me add a different paradigm. Let me change the tangent. A river flows because of its banks. नदी के जो किनारे होते हैं, वो उसको flow करने में मदद करते हैं. I believe goals in life do a similar thing. They are like the banks of a life. They help us flow. It gives us direction. I believe goals gives us momentum. It gives us the energy. It gives us the umph, the vitality, the zeal, the zest, so on and so forth. It helps me stay focused. Very important. I don't get distracted by small ups and downs, right? So it is something that is long term. And so remember that sentence: obstacles are that frightful things that we see when we take our eyes off our goal. If you have seen a 110-meter hurdle race, I'm sure some of you would have done it in school. If not, watch it on YouTube. When you see a 110-meter hurdle race, what is happening? The athlete who has the eyes on the hurdles invariably would hit the hurdle, and the hurdle will fall, so would the athlete. But check it out, the athletes that have the eyes on the checkered flag, those are the people who overcome those hurdles and obstacles and they reach the finishing line. So that's the importance of having long-term goals. We need to have long-term goals. We need to have mid-term goals, and we need to also have short-term goals. You would say, Anand, I know all this, heard it many times, know it, all that. Correct, you know it. But the question is, do we do everything that we know? Remember, discipline is what differentiates achievers from average people. Decisions will help us get started, but it is discipline that helps us finish. Yeah, so goals and achieving goals is all about discipline. So I'm going to talk about it. So as we go along, I'm going to introduce two acronyms to you. The first acronym is SMARTER, and the second acronym is FAST. And let's understand this in detail as we go along. So in terms of goals, I believe we should be able to set goals on all the various facets of life, not just academic goals or educational goals or goals in one area of a life. I need to have what I call the SPICE F goals. One more acronym: SPICE F. SPICE and F. So let's understand what is SPICE F. If you're making notes, I would encourage you to make a note on this. Think of what are your spiritual goals. And I'm talking about spirituality, I'm not talking about religion. There's a massive difference between that. It is as different as chalk and cheese. Spirituality is more of a relationship, whereas religion is more of a ritual, a routine. Yeah, so what are your spiritual goals? Second, what are your safety goals? Are we safe? Yeah. And you know, in India, there are about 400 to 500 deaths that happen on our highways, on the roads every day. So are we safe? Do we practice safety at home? Do you have a fire extinguisher in your kitchen? And so on and so forth, right? Just giving an example so that you get the flow of thought right. The second alphabet in Spice F is P. So P has three elements to it. Number one, what are your personal goals? Example, I would want to be a better listener. Example. Second P, what are your physical goals? Do you set your physical goals in terms of your fitness? Remember, fitness has elements such as speed, it has elements such as flexibility, it has elements such as stamina. Yeah, so when you say I'm fit, or if someone says he or she is fit, remember it has three elements to it: stamina, flexibility, and speed or strength. You can use that word. Third, what are your professional goals? In case you're working, you may have professional goals. If you're students, you have some time before you set up your professional goals. In that, you can replace it with your academic goals. What are your academic goals? S, P. The third alphabet in that acronym is I. What are your intellectual goals? Intellectual goals, cognitive ability. What books do you read? What magazines do you subscribe to? And so on and so forth. What is the kind of knowledge that you would want to build? Remember, we need to be a mile deep and a mile wide in terms of our knowledge. We shouldn't be an inch deep and a mile wide. So I need to have, in other words, simpler words, the depth of my knowledge, and I also should have the diversity of my knowledge, the width, the depth and the width of my knowledge. The fourth alphabet in that acronym Spice F is C. What are your goals towards the community? Your contribution towards the community. Very important. We need to think about it. We need to help people. Yeah? Generosity is the word that comes to my mind. The next alphabet on that Spice F is E. What are your emotional goals? Emotional intelligence is one of the top 10 skills that are in demand today. You can check this out on the World Economic Forum website, or just Google WEF top skills. You will find emotional intelligence in the top 10. What are your educational goals? What are your environmental goals? Yeah. And the last alphabet in that is F. What are your family goals? What are your financial goals? Yeah, so those are the acronym, the Spice F acronym and the parts of that acronym. Spiritual, safety, personal, physical, professional, intellectual, contribution to community, educational, emotional, environmental, family, and finances. Right? So that's Spice F. Now, I would encourage everyone under the sound of my voice to take out time and write down, articulate your goals. Once you have done that, let's put those statements to test. How do we test those statements? We need to check whether those statements are passing through the SMARTER test. Again, an acronym, SMARTER. SMARTER. The statements that you have written, friends, should be number one, S. So the statements that you write should be specific and measurable. That means the statement should have numbers there. It should be an objective statement, not just a subjective statement. So you will say that, okay, in that particular area where you would want to improve, you're setting your goal, you will say, this is my current state. And I would want to go to a desired state. So current state X to desired state Y in a particular time frame, that could be Z. So to put it in simpler words, X to Y by a particular time. Yeah, so specific and measurable. Why should it be measurable? Because what I don't measure, there is no way I can manage it. Yeah, so we need to measure. And remember, one of the most important words when it comes to goals is the consequences of it. The doing of it and the non-doing of it. What are the consequences? The stakes should be high. And one of my advice to you when you are setting your goals is it should be a compelling goal. It should be an emotional goal. You should dedicate it to someone very close to you in your family. And then you will get that energy, that drive that you will do it because you would want to do it for someone else. And that gives us the additional motivation for us to push the envelope when the going gets tough. Because it is going to get tough. Life is not easy. If all this that I'm saying sounds very innocuous, sounds very simple, trust me, yes, it sounds simple, but hardly people have goals in life. They are just passing through the motions. They just go with the flow. And my advice to everyone is, we don't go with the flow, we need to be in a flow. Yeah? So the first S is specific and measurable. The second alphabet in smarter is M. What does M mean? M in this acronym is motivational. So if you may, on the piece of paper that you have, draw a y-axis and an x-axis. On the y-axis, write down motivation. The drive, the zeal, the energy, the enthusiasm to get it done. On the x-axis, write down degree of difficulty. Yeah. So y-axis is motivation. So the top of y-axis will be high motivation. The base of the y-axis will be low motivation. High motivation, low motivation. And your x-axis, the left of the x-axis, cutting the y-axis will be low degree of difficulty, and the end of your y-axis, x-axis rather, will be high degree of difficulty. So high motivation, low degree of difficulty, and high degree of difficulty. So you have a graph. So if you were to plot a graph, plotting motivation versus degree of difficulty, how would that graph look like? It would take a parabola shape, an inverted U or a bell curve. Now think of this. If you have drawn it, you will understand it better. I don't have a whiteboard, so sorry for that. Otherwise, I would have actually drawn it and shown it to you. But I'm sure you would have drawn it on that piece of paper. Now, if the goals that we are setting is on a lower side of the degree of difficulty, that means it is towards the left of the x-axis, remember the corresponding level of motivation will also be low. So low degree of difficulty, as far as the goals that you set, the corresponding level of motivation will be low, resulting in we giving up on that goal because we get bored. It does not challenge us. And something that does not challenge us will not change us. Yeah. The second thing we need to keep in mind is, if I am setting a goal which is very high as far as the degree of difficulty is concerned, I am yet to build that competency. I am yet to build those skills. I am still a work in progress. So if the degree of difficulty is very high, at the start, what will happen? The corresponding level of motivation will again be low, and what will happen is we would give up on this particular goal sooner rather than later because of anxiety. Yeah, low goals, low degree of difficulty, low motivation, boredom, we quit. Very high level of difficulty, low motivation, we give up because of anxiety. Right? So remember, as the degree of difficulty increases, so does the motivation. But remember, at a particular point, because it's a bell curve, at a particular point, the motivation is going to go down if you drastically increase the degree of difficulty. So remember, it has to be in a flow. On a daily basis, we need to build our capabilities and our competencies constantly. We need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Unless we unlearn, we cannot learn, or rather relearn. Very, very important that we understand this. So the S in the smarter is specific and measurable. The M in this is motivational. The A in smarter is actions. For example, if you have set a goal for yourself that you would want to improve your fitness. Let's take that as an example. So is it a specific statement? I want to improve my fitness this year. No, because fitness would mean different things to different people. It is not the same thing, right? The interpretation would be different. Yeah. So I'll have to say that my current BMI, body mass index, is X, and I would want to reduce it and take it to Y by a particular time frame. You may say that my stamina is, let's say, 5 kilometers as far as a run is concerned. I would want to increase it to maybe 7 or 8, whatever it is. So current level to desired level. Yeah. My weight is whatever it is, and I would want to reduce it to whatever you would want to do it. So that's a good goal. It's a specific and measurable goal because it has numbers, and it should motivate you. It should kind of push you out of the bed to go and work out. Remember, for goals, don't wish for it, work for it. So the A here will have all those actions that I will take so I can move the needle. What will I do? Yeah, so I'll have to articulate those points. Those should be action verbs, not just good statements. I'll work hard. I don't know what is work hard because I can't measure it. So you'll have to write down actions, and those actions goes into my calendar. We'll talk about the calendar in some time. Right? SMA. The next alphabet in the word smarter is R. What is R? It has to be relevant. Relevant to your value system. Very important. If you don't stand for something, guess what? You will fall for anything. So do you have a value system, an articulated value system? For example, you will never see Anand Bhatnagar working for, let's say, a company called ITC. Why? Because they are in the business of tobacco, and that is against my value system. Yeah, so I need to know what values I have, and I will only have goals that are in line with my values. I should not be climbing the rungs on a ladder and reach the top only to find out that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Yeah, so very important that we understand that the goals that I am setting is the right thing to do. Remember, there is a difference between doing right things and doing things right. Yeah, getting it? Making notes? Please continue to write notes. The T in smarter is trackable. I need to be able to track it. On my study table, where I have a soft board, I should be able to put my progress chart. Am I on track? What is the asking rate required? to reach my goal? Are we passing through the right milestones? So on and so forth. Yeah. The E in smarter is ethical. Very important. And let me give you a piece of advice. And make a note of this. If you're a science student, you would know the theory of relativity. Yeah? So understand this. Relativity applies only to physics, never to ethics. Never. Take shortcuts. It does not take you anywhere. Yeah? So the goals that you are writing have to be ethical. And the last is R. In that acronym, SMARTER, the last alphabet is R, which stands for recorded. So you should record it. Then there is enough research that tells the magic of writing down your goals. There's some magic that happens when we write it down. It increases the probability of our achieving those goals manifold. We need to write it down. So that is your SMARTER acronym. So when you're writing your SPICE F goals, check whether it is passing through the SMARTER test. And also, it should pass through what I call the FAST test. One more acronym, FAST. F-A-S-T. F is the goals should be frequently discussed. Discuss it with your parents, your friends, with a coach, with a mentor, with your seniors, with your teachers, with your professors. Very important. Frequently discuss. What is the benefit of frequently discussing the goals? It helps us stay on track. If I am digressing somewhere, if I am off track, I will be able to do course correction and come back on track. Very important. A is ambitious. Remember, people fail not because they aim too high and they miss. People fail not because they aim too high and miss. People fail because they aim too low and hit. There's a wonderful sentence in Gujarati that says, Nishan chuk maaf, nahi maafte nichu nishan. Yeah, so that's translated that in English, that people fail not because they aim too high and miss, they fail because they aim too low and they hit, and that becomes their normal. Yeah, so it has to be ambitious. It has to be something that drives you, that propels you on an onward and upward journey, helps you go above and beyond. Yeah, and the third alphabet in SMART is specific, and we spoke about specific in the SMARTER acronym. Yeah, so it helps you measure it. And the last P is transparent. It has to be transparent. Be honest to yourself. And trust me, my friends, it is very, very difficult to be honest to yourself. Remember, you can't fool yourself and you can't fool God. I'll repeat, you can never fool God and you can never fool yourself. So the goals that you're setting has to be transparent. Be honest to yourself. Yeah, so that's the third step. So just to give you a quick recap, when we're setting goals, we set it on the SPICE F acronym. Then we pass those statements through the SMARTER grid and the FAST grid. And once you have done this, let me again repeat, the one most important, the single most important word when it comes to setting goals is consequences. What if this does not happen? I should not have the option to fail. So hence it should be a wildly important goal. I'll repeat, it should be a wildly important goal. Yeah, and let me give you 4 secrets that will help you execute it, and then I'll tell you some more. Yeah, 4 secrets. Number 1, the goals that we set, and if you again want to have one more acronym, I'll give you the acronym called WIGS. Right, so we'll talk about it. So the first thing in terms of execution, or rather the discipline of execution, is that the goals that we have set should be wildly important goals. WIGS, W-I-G. wildly important goals. And what are wildly important goals? Wildly important goals, friends, are goals where failure is not an option. The stakes are too high. I just can't afford to fail. Right? So check out whether the goals that you're setting are wildly important. Second, we need to focus on the lead indicators, not the lag indicator. Lag indicator is like the post facto. Lead indicator is like the pre facto. Lag indicator is your output. Lead indicator is your input. Yeah, focus on the inputs, focus on the things that are in your control, focus on the process, trust the process, because the result may or may not happen as per my desire. It does not happen always. No one wins always, but the process has to be followed. So I need to be romantic about the process that I am following. The focus has to be on the process, the inputs. If the inputs are there, I will get to where I want to go more often than not. Yeah. So the first that I said is WIG, or widely important goals. Second is focus on lead indicators. Third, we need to have a compelling scorecard. Remember I spoke about trackability of the goals? Same thing. I need to have a scorecard. I need to know whether I am leading or I am lagging. Yeah. And how far am I from the checkered flag? And the last point in terms of the 4 disciplines of execution is we need to have a cadence of accountability. So between you and your parents, between you and your elders, between you and someone who is a coach or a mentor to you, you should have a cadence. Cadence means a culture of accountability where you agree to do something and then you get it done. And in case you don't do it, you will have a difficult discussion on that. Remember, losers make excuses, winners make progress. You cannot have both excuses and results. You pick and choose one of them. Let me give you one more very important input. As far as goals are concerned, are you interested in achieving your goals, or are you committed to achieving your goals? What's the difference between I am interested and I am committed? When I say I am interested, it means I will do it when it is convenient. Mark it, write it down. When I say I'm interested, that means I will do it when it is convenient. And when I say I am committed, that means I will do it no matter what. So are you interested or are you committed? There's a big difference, massive difference. It's in the mindset. It's here. Remember, don't wish for it, work for it. It's tough. It's tough. Most people don't do this. They get into a cocoon, they get into a comfort zone. And as Shri Dhirubhai Ambani famously said, this is one of my favorite quotes, of the many quotes Shri Dhirubhai had said. What he said, all of us are born in an orbit, but only a few break out of that orbit. God has given each one of us tremendous potential. I believe that you are, yes, I'm talking to you, you are bestowed with seeds of greatness. God has given you, sown in you the seeds of greatness, but you will not become great. Why? Because most of us get distracted by secondary activities. You know what are secondary activities? Your social media, your gossiping, your Netflix, all secondary activities is taking you away from the glory that would be yours, because God has given you special talent and He has given that talent only to you. But most of us are only interested, we are not committed, because commitment requires a massive degree of discipline. Discipline is choosing between what I want now and what I want most. Yeah, remember that. Right, so a couple of points that I shared, just a recap: the SPICE F goals, the smarter grid, the fast grid, and then the 4 disciplines of execution, widely important goals, focus on the lead indicators, create a compelling scorecard, and have a cadence of accountability. Moving on, then I'll create a list that I need to create. So just put down your thoughts, just let it flow. That becomes your to-do list. And when you are putting your to-do list, remember this statement: we schedule our priorities, not prioritize our schedules. You may use a different Excel which says schedule your priorities, not prioritize your schedules, whatever you like. What do I mean by it? Let's understand that. So I need to have a to-do list. Yes, so write down all those activities that when done, and remember these are quadrant 2 activities. I am repairing the roof while it is still bright sunshine. Remember we spoke about the 4 quadrants? Something which is important, not yet urgent. Yeah. So once you write those activities, alongside those set of activities, let us try to rank them and put what I call the A, B, C, D, E categorization. Let's understand this. So on that piece of paper, you have the list of activities. Once you have the list of activities, write next to that activity either A, B, C, D or E. Put in the alphabet A in case that is an activity that you must do. You must attend school on time. You must attend your college in time. You must punch in time. You don't have an option there. Because if you don't do it, the stakes are high. You stand to lose something. So think about what is the must activity that is there in your SPICE F goals. I must pray. Or do you say I should pray? Difference between must and should. Must does not have an escape window, whereas should has an escape window, right? It says that, yeah, I wanted to do it, but the $1 million if. So put A next to that statement if that is a must to do activity in order to achieve our goals on one of these SPICE F facets. Remember SPICE F? Repeat it for your benefit. Spiritual, safety, personal, physical, professional, intellectual, contribution to community, emotional, educational, environmental, financial and family goals. Write down the alphabet B if it is a should do activity. And I told you the difference between must and should. So A is must, B is should, C is nice to do. And remember, in terms of prioritization, you do the A first. And listen to my next statement. Things that matter the most, the A category of things, should never be at the mercy of things that matter the least. That means I should not be doing a B activity at the expense of A. I need to get that priority in place. Are you with me? Yeah? I'll repeat. Things that matter the most should never be at the mercy of things that matter the least. So A is must, B is should, C is nice to do, D is can I delegate it? Can I give it to someone else? Can I automate it? For example, your mobile recharges can be automated. You could go for an auto recharge option. It saves time. Remember, you will have to give up to go up. Because at a given point in time, you can't do two things. I'll have to give up something which is good to be able to do something which is great. Read that book, Good to Great. And in that book, there's a fantastic statement which says, good is the enemy of great. You have seeds of greatness, but remember, we get distracted by secondary activities. Check how much time on social media. That is taking you nowhere. Are you spending time or are you investing time is something that I would advise you to be very, very careful about. So A, must. B, should. C, nice to do. D, see if you could delegate it. And the last is E, eliminate it. जड़ से निकाल के फेंकना है सब उसको. What are the activities you and I should eliminate from our life? Number one, gossiping. It is mental poison. Mental poison. Yeah? Stay away from that. Stay away from gossiping. Stay away from any activity that is not helping you become the best version of yourself, taking you closer to your goals. Very important, my friends. Very, very important. Yeah, so you do those categorization, and as I close this, and we will talk more about this in another series of video, you have a to-do list, and you also create something which I say a not to-do list. I will not do this. Remember what is prioritization? Let's visualize it. If you have a bowl, right, a fish bowl or any bowl, and in that you have to put three things. You need to put big rocks, you need to put pebbles, and you need to put sand. What will you put first? The big rocks. Because if you put the sand first, the space is already occupied and there will be no space for your big rocks. So what are your big rocks? Focus on the big rocks. Focus on things that matter the most. So in terms of prioritization, what will we do? We will put the big rocks first, then the pebbles, and the sand will kind of make its space. So that's the order. Remember I said we schedule our priorities, we don't prioritize our schedules. Things that matter the most should never be at the mercy of things that matter the least. Big rocks matter the most. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Big rocks is the main thing. Your career is the main thing. Your health is the main thing. Your relationship is the main thing. And remember the last thing that was shared many years, in fact I think it's more than a century back, by a person called Pareto, is the Pareto's law. And he talks about the 80-20 principle. 20% of our efforts will give us 80% of our results. And 80% of our efforts will give us 20% of our results. So no prizes for guessing this. Where should my focus be? Where should your focus be? Where should our focus be? On the 20% that gives me 80% of the result, or the 80% that gives me the 20%? On the critical few or the insignificant many? So my suggestion, recommendation to you is, let us focus upon the critical few, the 20% that is going to give me the 80% of the result. The critical few, not the insignificant many, because when I am focusing upon the critical few, I am productive, and when I am focusing upon the insignificant 80%, I am just being busy. Yeah, so that's how you plan your goals. And remember, we cannot achieve goals without discipline. So it is all about discipline. Yeah, so thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you made your notes. In case you would want to reach out to me, you may text me on my number, and I'll give you my number. My number is 8454943627, or you could send me an email on ab.anandbhatnagar@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram, and my handle is alwaysbelieving_AB. I put in some of my thoughts on a regular basis. Hopefully those thoughts will help you. Right? So I hope this little time was useful to you, and I hope you would start thinking about this and start implementing it. Because remember, inspiration minus perspiration is nothing, it adds to nothing, right? So, as I bid goodbye to you, let me one more time tell you that in times such as these, we need to have a mind where we praise and we don't panic. We need to have faith and we should not have emotions of fear. We need to worship and not worry, right? Remember, this too shall pass, right? So here is Anand Bhatnagar signing off, saying thank you for your time, for your attention. Hopefully this is helping you, and let us all strive to be better versions of ourselves and start unknown, finish unforgettable. Thank you. God bless you.